marching down to the White House.
Sounds to me, Ben, like they won't be happy until Israel doesn't exist.
Real American news.
America is under chemical warfare attack. Fentanyl is the weapon.
Thank you for everything you're doing.
I appreciate you guys very, very much.
This is America's Voice Live with Steve Gruber.
Welcome to America's Voice Live. I'm Steve Gruber. It is Wednesday, the 26th of March. Let's get to today's top stories. Thank you for being here, as always, and spending part of your day with Real America's Voice. Elon Musk and President Trump never quit. When it comes to cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, they continue to do it every day. We'll talk about that also. The economy is still a big issue for many Americans, but the left still continues to fight President Trump while Trump is trying to put more money in Americans' pockets. Go figure. And then President Trump just cut over $300 million going to research projects that include trans mice. That's right, transgender mice. All of that and more coming up on America's Voice Live. Well, we begin here today, and earlier today, members of the House Intelligence Committee held the annual threat assessment hearing for 2025, where they questioned members of the Trump administration. This comes after a staffer at National Security Advisor and National Security Advisor at Mike Waltz's office included an Atlantic reporter, Jeffrey Goldberg, in a signal text group with senior-level Trump officials. Tulsi Gabbard, John Ratcliffe, and others from the Trump administration already testified that nothing top secret was in there and nothing particularly important. Goldberg himself released the transcripts earlier today, debunking most of what he had claimed about being war plans. I've looked at it. I did not see war plans. In fact, I saw nothing classified and basically a pros and cons list. Is it? Well, here with me to discuss this is the Congresswoman from Wyoming, Harriet Hageman. Congresswoman, nice to see you again. Obviously, the Democrats want something. They want anything to get Jasmine Crockett off the front page and off the television set. So they are, I mean, the only signal that I'm getting here is that they're desperate. Am I wrong?
I was going to use that exact word. Thank you for having me today. I think it is a show of desperation that they have glommed onto this the way that they have. I know Mike. I served with him in the House prior to him being appointed to this position. He's one of the smartest men I know. He's just absolutely fabulous when talking about and addressing our national security issues. I have a great amount of trust in him. Was this a snafu? I think that that's fair to say, but also I think that the administration, unlike the previous administration, is being incredibly transparent and getting the information out to the American people. We just need to have a better understanding of exactly what was disclosed. I haven't yet had a chance to look through all of the messages that were sent back and forth. But again, Mike is a good man. Mike Waltz is a good man. I'm glad he's there. I know that he has the best interests of America at heart.
Yeah. Look, you've got Democrats, senators, screaming for Pete Hegseth to resign, screaming for your former colleague Mike Waltz to resign. None of that makes sense based on anything that I've seen so far, Congresswoman. Again, this seems like it seems to me like they're clanging pans together, trying to distract the American people. Look, Donald Trump has had the best of them for 65 days now. He's been on a fast track, delivering on promises. You've been part of that effort as well, obviously. And they need something to slow him down, because right now, his polling is very good, and the popularity of closing the border, bringing down inflation, trying to end the war in Ukraine, trying to end the conflict in Gaza, all of these things are resonating with the American people. They need something, don't they?
Yes, they do. This is about deflection from what the Trump administration is doing. And as we all recognize, one of our biggest national security threat relates to the open border from the last administration. And that's where the Trump administration has been absolutely stellar in terms of closing that border, providing additional security, and addressing the risk and the threats from many of the criminals that came over that border over the last 4 years. So again, he's doing what the American people sent him to Washington, D.C. to do. I'm proud to be a part of it as a member of Congress. I think Mike Waltz is doing a great job. Pete Hegseth is doing a great job. The vice president is. This was a discussion, and it was a discussion about various options that they had in terms of addressing what they perceived as the threat. So we're probably seeing more than perhaps they wanted us to, but at the same time, I think that now they're being very transparent. I think there's most likely going to be an investigation to find out exactly what happened. But let's keep our eye on the ball. Let's focus on what is in the best interest of America.
And I think everybody's fine with the investigation. Have the investigation. Was a mistake made? Obviously, somebody included Jeffrey Goldberg where he did not belong. Okay, but it wasn't classified information. It was not war plans as he claimed. We've now seen the text messages and so forth. So it's not anything that he claimed, not that I can tell, at least not so far. So let's move on. And the good news is the Houthis have paid a very high price. Nothing was stopped. The operation came off without a hitch. And for the first time in 4 years, Americans are asserting their power to make sure those shipping lanes are open, to knock terrorists back into their holes and to take them out if necessary. I mean, it has been a success so far. We should be saying that, shouldn't we?
I think so as well. Let's focus on the outcome.
Absolutely. All right. So Wyoming, energy state. Let's talk about Donald Trump's energy policies. Obviously important. Wants to move forward with refiring up coal-fired power plants, maximizing coal production. You've got a lot of coal in Wyoming, a lot of natural gas. So LNG going to Europe would be a big thing for Wyoming and for several states. How important are these energy practices? And with the new energy secretary moving forward, full speed ahead as well. What does that mean for the people of Wyoming and for America?
Energy security is national security. Under the previous Trump administration, for the first time in over 50 years, the United States was energy independent and a net exporter, and we need to get back to that, not only because it's the right thing to do in terms of creating jobs right here in the United States, but it also helps our allies around the world. Why are we, you look at someone like Germany, and many of the European countries have been essentially funding both sides of the war between Russia and Ukraine, because while they're supporting Ukraine and sending some funds that direction, they're also having to buy fuel from Russia. So it doesn't make any sense. We have a lot of enemies that under the Biden administration were able to substantially increase output because we were not producing right here. Just looking at Iran, when we're talking about the Middle East and the destabilization there, we can trace all of that back to Iran. Iran made $110 billion over the last 4 years in oil and gas sales because of Joe Biden lifting the sanctions, so that they were able to fund the October 7th, 2023 attack. They were able to fund the Houthis and the Hezbollah, and so as a result of that, you've destabilized the Middle East. Whereas if we produce domestically, it creates fabulous jobs in Wyoming and the surrounding states, and it provides affordable, reliable energy, so it reduces energy poverty.
Yeah, it certainly does. You know, and you make this great point. Look, Germany and these other countries in Europe were paying Russia more than they were paying to fund the war in Ukraine. It made no sense at all. They're funding both sides once again. And we find ourselves in that strange position where you're funding both sides of the war. 2,500 people on average are dying every week. We'd like to see the war come to an end. Donald Trump is working with Steve Witkoff and others to try to make that happen. Not easy so far, but I think we've made progress there. But the first thing is, let's enrich Wyoming. Let's enrich Pennsylvania. Let's enrich Alaska. Let's not enrich Russia, right?
Well, then let's make sure that the American citizens can keep more money in their pockets and that they're not overpaying at the pump or to heat their homes. Wyoming's the largest coal producer in the nation. We have clean, reliable, affordable coal. We are incredibly environmentally sensitive in terms of taking care of the environment, protecting our water resources, air quality, land quality, etc. We're the 8th largest oil and gas producer. We have one of the highest high-quality reserves of uranium in the United States. We do a fabulous job of providing energy resources that people in this country need. I have long been railing against the idea that we have to adopt policies that result in energy poverty. In other words, impoverishing our fellow American citizens because of failed energy policy. So Wyoming is ready, willing, and able to produce whatever we need to make sure that people can keep the lights on. We can domesticate more in terms of manufacturing. We can produce more right here. Across the board, it makes us a safer, more prosperous country if we do that.
I believe you're right on that. Let me shift gears a little bit here for you because, look, a lot of people in Washington and the Eastern Seaboard think that they know what is best for Wyoming and Montana and Idaho and all the Western states because they've seen pictures. But they don't understand how it really works in Wyoming, now do they? They've seen pictures, and they visited Yellowstone National Park a couple of times, so they know how everything works. But the fact of the matter is the reintroduction of the wolf has had impact on the western United States and on the ranchers. And you have just put together some legislation on the reintroduction of the Grizzly Bear State Management Act, meaning the state of Wyoming would have management authority over this apex predator. Doesn't sit well with a lot of people, but for people in the Western United States, you get it. Please explain.
Well, the grizzly bear was listed as threatened in 1975, and the recovery goal was approximately 500 bears. We have over 1,100 grizzly bears in the greater Yellowstone ecosystem alone. We have more than double the number of bears that even the Fish and Wildlife Service says is appropriate or necessary, and they recognize that they have completely saturated Yellowstone National Park, and now they're moving into other areas that were never really part of the critical habitat for the greater Yellowstone grizzly bear. So I have filed a bill to delist the grizzly bear because the Fish and Wildlife Service, whenever they do delist a grizzly bear, which they have a couple of times, the radical environmental groups come in and find a judge that is sympathetic to their cause, and they relist the grizzly bear. Wyoming, in fact, does manage the grizzly bear already. That's who is responsible for it. The Fish and Wildlife Service oversees it. The question has to do with how we manage that bear and whether we're able to do things such as protect our livestock producers and protect our other wildlife species. Both the gray wolf and the grizzly bear are apex predators, meaning that they're at the top of the food chain, and as a result, they can have an enormous impact on our other wildlife resources, whether it's moose or elk, on our livestock industry. So it is important to properly manage these. But another thing for people to keep in mind, when we keep species like the grizzly or the gray wolf on the Endangered Species Act or list, what we're doing is we're deflecting and we are diverting resources that could actually be used to recover and protect those species that need help. I mean, you can talk about the California condor, you can talk about the whooping crane. There are species that are endangered and threatened, and we need to be spending the resources to address that. I would perhaps do it a little differently sometimes than the Fish and Wildlife Service does or the courts do, but the fact is we are deflecting resources to a recovered species when we should be focusing on those species that actually need assistance.
Now, I think you missed the most famous endangered species in Wyoming, the black-footed ferret. Another success story. I mean, the grizzly bear's been a success story. The ferret's been a success story. The point is that the wildlife biologists and scientists, they've done their job. The grizzly bear population double their target. I mean, they've succeeded. It's time to unhandcuff the states to do what they need to do. I've only got about 30 seconds for this, but you also would like to do some reforms on the Endangered Species Act, codifying the Gulf of America. You've been a big part of that. Just real quickly, tell us what that's about.
We had hearings yesterday. I am the chairman of the subcommittee on water, wildlife, and fisheries. And yesterday we had a hearing on several bills that would do just exactly what you're saying. Much needed Endangered Species Act reform, as well as renaming the Gulf to the Gulf of America, which there are a variety of reasons for doing that. But I would encourage people to they could go watch the video. It was in the Natural Resource Committee, the subcommittee on water, wildlife, and fisheries.
Congresswoman, you're one of my favorites. There's no question about it. I always enjoy talking to you. You come from a wonderful state, and I think it's beautiful that you look out for Wyoming every day. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. I do just like her a lot. She's full of that thing that we call common sense. We'll have more after the break here on America's Voice Live. President Trump and Elon Musk continue to slash government waste and fraud. U.S. Attorney General PM Bannon recently sent a very clear message for those engaged in fraud against our government using your tax dollars. Listen to this.
Thank you, President. As far as we are hearing a lot about fraud, waste, and abuse, a lot of waste and abuse, but there is a tremendous amount of fraud. And Elon, thank you for your partnership. Thank you for your team. You have uncovered so much fraud in our government, and we will prosecute you. We have an internal task force now working with every agency sitting here at this table. And if you've committed fraud, we're coming after you.
Yeah, well, here's been Elon Musk's Doge that saved over $100 billion. The estimates seem to vary some, and that was from a couple of weeks ago. So the number keeps growing, which is good news for the American taxpayer. Here with me to discuss this and the efforts of Doge and Attorney General Pam Bondi, Congressman Josh Burkeen of Oklahoma. Congressman, thank you for being here. Look,
thank you.
Waste, fraud, and abuse. For some reason, it makes the Democrats' heads explode if we save the taxpayer money. It's weird to me, but it is a strange reaction, isn't it?
Yeah, it's odd. I did a town hall last night, and it's interesting that anyone could be against making sure that their tax dollars, the finite resource of taxpayer funds, are spent most efficiently. Anyone having an objection to that has to have more than a common sense objection. It has to be partisan in nature.
Yeah. Let's talk about this. We're saving money. We're not cutting spending, but we're reducing the rate of increase in many cases, Josh. That's the way it works. And every time, even if you reduce the rate of increase, those on the left go crazy and accuse Donald Trump of being a dictator and a lot of other crazy things, right? So here's what people are curious about. We got the continuing resolution through, which laid the groundwork, the foundation, if you will, for this big, beautiful reconciliation bill. People want to know, how close is that? What's going to be in it? What kind of changes can they expect? It's a big deal, and it takes a lot of work, as I know. So tell us where we are.
Yeah, so I'm on the House Budget Committee. Great thanks to a great chairman, Jody Arrington, who led a good number of us into a great result, a framework that if we fulfill what the framework we were able to get out of our committee and then pass the House, if we're able to fulfill what we brought forward, then we will bring about enough change that we have to have in an environment where our credit rating, two of our three major agencies have downgraded us in the last 10 to 15 years to AA from AAA. And we've got some questions in the bond market right now that people are shopping around, in other countries. There's a lot of debt that's maturing across the globe. And we, as the Budget Committee, are convinced we've got to do something to make sure the full faith and credit of the United States is not questioned, and that we show the American people we're serious about, as the Constitution talks about, preserving the blessing of liberty, not just for ourselves, but also for posterity. And so, a big part of this is going to be clawing back the Inflation Reduction Act, what President Trump called the Green New Scam. I come from an energy state, top 5 producer of natural gas, and we have wind and solar that are displacing natural gas on the electric grid across the country. In the last several years, the Energy Information Administration, Steve, says that the majority of the increase, a super majority of the increase that is undergirding our electric grid, electricity production, is coming from wind and solar. And I want everyone just to pause and think that is displacing proportionate natural gas role, and it is moving us to the place where Europe, who started to go green years ago, the same Europe that has now been importing fossil fuels from Russia the tune of, dollar-wise, more than the dollars they've been contributing to help Ukraine. It is a threat to our sovereignty. It is a threat to our economic prowess, and it is a threat to not have cheap, reliable energy if we go down the pathway of other countries. Let me just say one more thing on this. China is more than happy to let us go green while they continue to send us battery components and solar components, and we are cutting off our nose to spite our face, undermining and unleashing true energy dominance.
And one more thing, China's building more than one coal-fired plant to power every single day. They're not even using them. You probably know this.
That's right.
They're just building them and setting there for future reference. They know what the future is. But
That's
you
right.
look at the big energy states, Oklahoma, Texas, Wyoming has more coal than anybody, Pennsylvania, Alaska. We have more natural resources, Josh, than any piece of real estate in the world when it comes to energy. We need to use it. And when you look at a windmill, or a turbine if they prefer,
Yes.
that are $5.5 million, have a life of about 10 years that never return the electricity that it costs to put the thing in the air. That's foolishness. That's a fool's errand. We need to sell LNG to Europe. We need to move coal to our own coal-fired power plants, like Donald Trump just said. Chris Wright and the Secretary of Energy, we need to continue on this path to make America not just energy independent, but dominant. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, look, I saw somebody today, and I'm trying not to be flippant when I say this. I saw somebody walk into the Capitol building today that had the word energy dominance on their lapel. I said, oh, great. Where are you from? What groups are you representing? We're here to represent solar. They are trying to wordsmith their way to keep their tax credit in place. And I want the American people to understand this. Again, the large components we are importing solar specific from China. China, to your point, is doing everything they can to go the opposite of the direction of making sure that they have reliable and affordable energy. When you look at states, even apart from the subsidization that the IRA, the Green New Scam, as President Trump called it, when you look at the state incentives, look at what the cost doubling in states like California have done when they start adding state incentives per kilowatt hour cost that Californians pay compared to the 12 cents per kilowatt hour in Oklahoma. And so we have absolutely have got to return to common sense, liquid gold underneath our feet, 400-year supplies, President Trump has talked about. And we've got some special interest groups who want to protect one of the 8 different components in the IRA. And as I'm encouraging my colleagues, if you protect one, what is the standard principle that you have to say to everyone else who wants to protect their deal? Republicans have to be about let the free market reign, not protect the few at the expense of many Americans.
Absolutely. I'm going to give you 2 crazy examples. I'd like you to get the last one on this. Ontario, Canada, got rid of all their coal-fired power plants over the last 10 years. Their electric rates have gone up 3 to 5 times, 300 to 500% for the consumers in Ontario, Canada. That's thing one. Thing two, here in my home state of Michigan, the plan was to bulldoze, listen to this is insane, bulldoze state forest land to put in solar panels, hundreds, if not thousands of acres. I'm sorry. This is good for the environment. They've lost their minds, Congressman. There's just no other way to put it. I'll give you the last word.
Look at there's a little island off of the coast of Spain. It's in the Canary Island chain. It's in the trade wind zone. And you look back decades before, they talked about becoming energy independent. Now, if you're in the trade wind zone, you get a tremendous amount of wind consistency. But yet, in the last couple of years, you look at over 50% of their utilization, even though they started this goal decades ago to be going truly green, they're having to rely on fossil fuels over a majority of their year because it is not continual. It's not affordable. The countries that have gone this have paid a price, and they are sacrificing not only their economic security, but their national security when they become dependent on hostile regimes for their energy needs.
Which, by the way, I would say, Congressman, is absolutely not green. Jasper Keene, Oklahoma Congressman, greatly appreciate you being here. You come back anytime. Great conversation.
Thanks,
I appreciate you being here today.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, coming up after the break, as we march into spring, there's a lot on the agenda, including DOGE cutting more government waste, ensuring the survival of the Trump tax cuts. More details coming up. economy is still number one for most Americans when it comes to top issues of concern. And as we head into the spring, the agenda remains clear. Allow Elon Musk's Doge to continue to locate fraud and wasteful spending, and to do all we can to ensure these changes are permanent for the future to protect the American taxpayer and all of their money. Another important issue, tax cuts. We need to ensure that the Trump tax cuts from 2017 aren't just temporary, but permanent. Codify it. Here with me to discuss this is the Executive Vice President for the National Taxpayers Union, Bannon Arnold. And Bannon, when it comes to cutting taxes, I would say you're probably as big a fan as any. Thank you for being here.
I am. Thanks so much for having me.
All right. So what do you think? I was just talking to a congressman who says they're working on this big, beautiful bill. They hope to get these things rolled in there. They've got a lot going on. It's going to be an enormous bit of legislation. But legislation is the only way we can proceed, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a big fan of a lot of the work that the Doge is doing right now and cutting spending. But at the end of the day, if we don't want that unwound by future administrations or by courts, the Congress has to play an active role locking in these spending cuts, as well as you said from the outset there, making sure that we have good permanent tax policy that's going to stimulate economic growth. We can't simply grow our way out of these budget deficits that we've created. It needs to be a combination of budget cutting that's going to take place in this Congress, hopefully, as well as good tax policy that will help us grow. That combination is how we get rid of all this red ink that we've amassed for years and years and years.
Yeah, we need to look. We're going to bring in about $4.5 trillion. I just mean rough numbers here. We're going to spend $2 trillion more than that this year. Again, despite what may happen in this reconciliation bill, we're still behind the 8 ball. We need to pare that down. Elon Musk at one point had thought he could claw back $2 trillion a year. If we get to $1 trillion, that'd be a pretty good start. And I think that would be applauded by most people. Where would you like to see the numbers end up?
I mean, listen, I'm more focused on the direction that we need to go right now. We've been digging this trench deeper and deeper and deeper. If we can just start to make progress toward, alleviating that yawning $2 trillion annual deficit that we're facing, I'll be happy. The more we can cut, the better. But at this point, that is that proverbial aircraft carrier. It takes a long time to turn that around. And I just want to see some progress made to that effect. And that needs to happen at the Doge level. It needs to happen at the congressional level. We need to scour each and every budget item within the federal domain, because, listen, we're spending $1 trillion this year just on interest payments on the national debt. Yeah. That is benefiting absolutely nobody. We're spending more on servicing the national debt than we are on defense, which is just bonkers. We need to start turning this around. We need to have an adult conversation. It'd be nice if Democrats would actually get involved in this conversation too, because this is a bipartisan problem, not just for Republicans to fix.
Well, look, when Jasmine Crockett is the voice of reason for the Democrat Party and the person out front, we're going to have some challenges getting adults to the table, because as I look across the landscape, I don't see many adults anymore in the Democrat Party. I've got Hakeem Jeffries, AOC, Jasmine Crockett, like I mentioned. You got Bernie Sanders. You've got Maxine Waters screeching like a smashed cat. I mean, I don't know how you make a deal with people that are completely unhinged every single day. So we have to hope that the Republicans remain cohesive and together and push through legislation that works for the American people. I really don't see an alternative, Brandon. Do you?
Not in the short term. Unfortunately, what's happened with the Democratic Party, if they've pushed a lot of these show horses to the front of the line and suppress the voices of Democrats that are more concerned about our nation's fiscal health and so forth. And that's why you see this cast of characters that just wants to get attention on Twitter and on TV and not actually do any real work to improve our condition. But yeah, in the short term, there's no question about it. This reconciliation bill, this big, beautiful bill, is going to be a Republican-only initiative. And hopefully it's going to contain those deep spending cuts, those strong tax policies that we need, as well as a revitalization of the American energy industry. We need to produce more energy if we're going to have a strong economy. It's that simple. That's really the key to driving down inflation, creating jobs, and all the good stuff that we want to see.
Bannon Arnold, always appreciate you being here for the National Taxpayers Union. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. We are keeping an eye on the White House. Donald Trump there for Women's History Month. He's got a gathering. It could happen at any moment. I just make you aware of that. But what about funding for trans mice? You heard me right. Transgender mice. Funding for that and the little, little stickers on their head too, apparently. We'll talk about it straight ahead on America's Voice Live. As I mentioned, President Trump out at the White House to discuss Women's History Month. Here he is at the podium.
Spectacular place, the White House. It's just an amazing place to live and to work in. And, I've seen a lot of good places, but believe me, there's nothing like this. It's just very special. And it's great to have you here to celebrate Women's History Month. That's a big deal. And today we honor the legacy of incredible women like Betsy Ross, Harriet Tubman, Susan B. Anthony, Clara Barton, and Amelia Earhart, all legends. And their extraordinary courage and patriotism and devotion propelled our nation to glory and to greatness. They are great women, many great women. And thank you for the vote. You were very nice to me. The women, we set every record. We loved it. We loved that vote. But we're delighted to be joined by some of the pioneering women who are making history in our own time. A woman that's just absolutely incredible. I can't tell you enough about her. She ran my campaign. We kept winning. And then we did well where she won Florida by record numbers. And I said, the second time I said, well, just keep running Florida. And the big one was stolen from us, So I said, we better get her for number 3. And we won in records. We won every swing state. We won by millions of votes, the popular vote. We won everything. We won the districts, 2,750 to 507 or something like that. And we just won so big. And her name is Susie Wiles. And where are you, Susie? And she was just named by one of the very prominent media groups. I won't mention it because I cannot stand the people, but she was just named as, and it's true, the most powerful woman in the world. Susie, that is crazy, huh? That's a big. Her father was a great, Pat Summerall, a great announcer, really great football player and announcer for the NFL for like 27 years. He really got the NFL. He did pretty well with the NFL. He got him off to a very good start, didn't he? But he was great. But she's got those same traits. So thank you very much, Susie. Great job. Also, we're going to go to somebody that's really the rage right now. She's the youngest ever White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt. Caroline, look at you, huh? They said, sir, she's just too young. And I said, I don't know about that. She did awfully good because she did it during the campaign and she was awfully good. And she's been amazing. She just did another one just a little while ago. She looked at Susie and looked at me. I don't know. I think I'm ready, sir. How old are you? 27, right? 27. And I said, you're not too young. And she's knocking them dead. Everyone's talking about you. Thank you very much. Great job. And we have somebody else who's like a rocket ship, the counselor to the president. She served me well. I'm going to miss her, but we'll see a lot of her anyway. I hope it's on a friendly basis because I've got to be very concerned because she's going to be the new U.S. Attorney for the District of New Jersey. Alina, where's Alina Habba? Alina Habba. Thanks, Alina. She's going to be great. I'll tell you, she's going to be great. She's a great lawyer and lives in New Jersey. And I said, that sounds like a good combination. Everybody wanted that job. They're all looking for the job. And I said, wait a minute, doesn't Alina live in New Jersey? Yeah, I think Alina's going to get that job. So congratulations, Alina. It's fantastic. I'm also thrilled to say that we have more women in our cabinet than any Republican president in the history of our country. And joining us today is a woman I've known a long time. You talk about strong women. This is a strong woman. Remember, they were saying, he doesn't like strong women. That may be true, but if that's true, I'm in deep trouble because I'm surrounded. I got the strongest women. And this is a beautiful, strong, wonderful woman. Attorney General Pam Bondi. But yesterday, you know, she was talking about these guys that like burning down cars and plants and everything else. And I was watching her on television. She said, I'm going to get you. We're going to find you. And you're going to suffer. And I say, man, I don't want her after me. And, you know, it's amazing. The attacks have gone down very, very precipitously. And so Pam is fantastic. Thank you very much, Pam. Really amazing. Along with a woman who was given a very hard and difficult problem, the cost of eggs. This was the problem. The cost of eggs. Eggs were through the roof. If you got to see the Biden chart, it's like a rocket ship, and Trump is like this way. But I gave Brooke the Secretary of Agriculture, and I didn't know it. I didn't know it. She studied that in college. I didn't know that. I was going to give it to her anyway. It didn't matter that she studied, but it sort of helped, right? But she came in and she lowered the cost of eggs by almost 50% in 3 weeks. Someday you're going to tell us that secret. I want to find out. But the chart looks great. It's Biden like this, and then we're like this. But we also, by the way, we lowered energy costs really like tremendously. Energy's way down. Cost of gasoline's way down. The cost of groceries, a word that I used a lot on the campaign. It's like an old-fashioned word, but it's a beautiful word, very descriptive word. And the groceries are coming down, Brooke, at a level that we're finally getting costs under control in our country. And people don't like talking about it because it's so good, it's so positive. I haven't seen one story on eggs plummeting by 50%. But someday they'll get around to writing it. Secretary of Education, she's trying to put herself out of a job. Linda, she's trying to put herself out of a job. She's moving education back to the states, and she's doing it at a rapid rate, and she's an amazing woman. I've known her also for a long time. She's been amazing. No matter where she's been successful, including with her husband building a tremendous empire. And Linda McMahon is very special. Thank you, Linda. Thank you. And it's getting praised, by the way, the concept of moving education back to the states, back to the mothers and the fathers. And you probably do it for less than half, and you're going to have great, great schools. You know, I say that in our country, they have charts, and they rate the countries, various countries, and Norway and Denmark and Sweden and lots of places are rated at the top, and Finland. China's rated very high, too. Tell me, that takes the big problem out, because if they can do it, that's big, so we can do it. And we're rated toward the bottom. We're at number 37, 38, 39, or 40 out of 40. So we're just about last. And yet we're first in one very nice category, cost per pupil. So obviously there's something wrong. We just have to repeat that, Linda, and everybody says, well, I guess it's time to do it. And it's been that way for a long time. And originally we had it run by home states, so we never had that kind of a problem. But it's going to be, Katie, it's going to be brought back again, and Linda's going to do it. And I just say, you know, she said, you basically want me to get out of government, don't you? I said, that's right. Do your job and get out. But I promise I'll have something else for you, okay? I promise I'll have something even better for you, all right? But you're doing a job, and we appreciate it. Also, a special man. He's got a tremendous majority. It's so easy, a majority of about one. I think he's the only man could do the job because everybody loves him. Everybody respects him. He's really smart. He's so nice. People say, is he smart? I said, you have no idea. He's actually, you know, he's really nice because he's smart. He knows it's the only way you can live with it. Where is Mike? Mike, it's the only way you can do it. He's the nicest guy. But in actuality, he's not a nice person. He's ruthless. You haven't seen this guy when he gets angry. I'll ruin your image overnight. He is a phenomenal guy. Our great speaker, Mike Johnson. Thank you very much. I don't know. Is that good or bad for you? I'm not so sure. It's okay. He said whatever the heck you want to say is okay. First female Republican Attorney General of Iowa and an early supporter of Trump. And where's Brenna Bird? Brenna, thank you very much. She's so popular in Iowa. She came out so early, and I appreciate it very much. That's great. Alaska Lieutenant Governor Nancy Dahlstrom. Nancy, thank you, Nancy. Thank you very much. You have a great governor, too, by the way, Nancy. He's also tall. He's seriously tall. I mean, the guy's like 7'2". He is a tall guy, but he's a great governor. I have a son who's tall like him. And Bannon is very tall. They're all tall, but Barron's seriously tall, right? So anyway, say hello to him. He's a great governor. South Carolina Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evett. Where is Pamela? Thank you very much. Good job you're doing. Great job. Good. And good luck with everything. I know it's big stuff, right? Oh, good. Thank you. Well, you have a great governor. Oklahoma Agricultural Commissioner Blaine Arthur. Blaine. Thank you, Blaine. Good. Nice to see you. And so many other incredible women. I'm going to make so many enemies because I'm looking here. I know every one of them, and I'm supposed to say their names. Maybe we'll get to it. I don't know. It's a long list. For 4 long years, we had an administration that tried to abolish the very concept of womanhood and replace it with radical gender ideology. Maybe you heard something about that. They destroyed women's spaces and even tried to replace the word mother with the term birther person. A mother became a birther person. What's that all about? Then you wonder why they lost. They're trying to figure out why did they lose. I saw a congressman today for the Democrats. He was having a big fight on television early this morning, trying to make it so that really he thinks men should play in women's sports. He hasn't given that up yet. He was fighting like crazy. I said, this guy is going to lose. He's going to lose badly. The whole party is still into that. They haven't learned and we don't want them to learn, frankly. We want them to keep fighting. Let's not tell them. Under the Trump administration, we're ending the Marxist war on women, and you had a war on women. And we're protecting women's rights, defending women's dignity, and standing up for the American moms and daughters. So many are represented here, great people in this room. American women have never had bigger champions than all of us in the White House. I mean, it's me, but it's the group of men and women. We have a lot of men that are like Howard, our head of commerce, I see is here. What are you doing here, Howard? Oh, that's a good. He's got his beautiful wife here. I was saying, what's Howard doing here? It's like, there aren't too many men in this audience, actually. But he's a big advocate, and we're going to be making right after this, we're going to be making a big special announcement, Howard and I and Scott and a few of the people on cars. We have Liberation Day in America. That's where we take back all of this money that's been ripped off from us for so many decades, and we start a process. We're going to go with the tariffs on cars, and as you've probably been reading, it's all over the place. You've been reading and seeing and watching car companies and every other form of company. They're pouring back into our country at levels never seen before. We're up to, I guess, close, Howard, to $5 trillion of investments already, and there's never been that much for a year. We did that in a period of 6 weeks. There's never been any numbers like that. We've never seen. They're all coming in so they don't have to pay tariffs. It's very simple, because if you build your product in the USA, there is no tariff. On day one, I made the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. So, is there anybody, seriously, is there anybody that disagrees with that in this room? I was thinking maybe somebody from the press might raise their hand. I don't think so. There aren't too many people. You know, it's amazing. It's got to be like a 98% issue, right? So what are they doing, Marjorie? What are they doing? They're fighting for a 2% issue. That's good. Let them keep doing it. No matter how many surgeries you have or chemicals you inject, if you're born with male DNA in every cell of your body, you can never become a woman. You're not going to be a woman. And that's why last month I proudly signed a historic executive order to ban men from competing in women's sports, and it was very popular and very popular. We had a track meet, and it was so disparaging to great women athletes. I've known so many great women athletes. I gave Annika Sorenstam the Medal of Freedom here not so long ago, and these are unbelievable athletes, but it's so ridiculous. They had a track meet, and you heard me talking about long-distance track meet. The man won by 5 hours and 14 minutes and 12 seconds, and I said, this is not good. And you want to see worse? Take a look at the weightlifting records. Take a look at the boxing. Take a look at this. The whole thing is ridiculous. And frankly, it's demeaning to women. And you are superior to men, in my opinion. What do I know? You are. I see you. No, they are superior. I've known it all my life, and I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy. I also banned puberty blockers. Can you believe I'm even saying this? And the sexual mutilation of minor youth. Now, who would think, let's go back 10 or 15 years. If you ever heard a statement like that, you'd say, what the hell is he even talking about, right, Brooke? What is he talking about? Puberty blockers. But that's where we are. That's where we've come, and we're ending it. We're sending it back to where it came from, oblivion, right? So in the recent election, we did fantastically well with women. I kept hearing, women don't like them. I said, I think they do. Don't like fake polls don't like me. That's who don't like me. But we were setting records in so many of these cases, and I was for women. I was for the women, the suburban housewife, where I stopped low-income housing projects from being built at a house next to you, where people were being decimated. Their houses were being literally ripped up and destroyed. And I stopped it, and we've stopped it again. We had to stop it again. I stopped it first term. We had a great first term, a really successful first term. We had the largest increase in stock market value, 88% increase in the history of our country. We gave you the biggest tax cuts. We gave you the biggest regulation cuts. We rebuilt our military. We gave too much of it away to Afghanistan, this character. He gave billions and billions of dollars of it away to Afghanistan. And maybe we'll have to ask for that back, although it's getting a little old now. They're getting a little old. We're building new stuff. But I will say that it was such an honor working with so many great women. I've worked with women all my life. I've always been ahead on that subject. I had women in my construction business putting up skyscrapers in New York 30 years ago, 35 years ago, long before it was in vogue. And they were phenomenal. Every one of them was phenomenal. My administration listens to America's moms, and that's why I recently created the Presidential Commission to make America healthy again, and that's really caught on. That's really caught on. And Bobby Kennedy, by the way, is doing a great job. I think it's going to go down as another great choice. And we just don't want to treat the chronic disease crisis. We want to prevent our children from getting sick in the first place. And there are so many things that we are doing wrong. Something happened. If you go back 20 years, autism, think of it, 1 in 20,000 children. Think of that. 1, autism. You see it all over. 1 in 20,000 children. Now it's 1 in 36 children. Now, what the hell is that all about? There's something out there, and we got to find it. But can you imagine 1 in 20,000, and now it's 1 in 36, not 36,000, 1 in 36 children. And I see it all the time. And so there's something out there, and we're going to find it. We're doing something really wrong, and it might be very simple to even correct, but we're looking very hard, and Bobby's looking very hard, and we're going to figure it out. And to further support our nation's mothers, I've signed an executive order to expand access to fertility treatments like IVF. That's Katie. Katie. Where's Katie? Katie called your great senator from Alabama. She called, and she was like in a little bit of angst, right? She said, "Sir, we just had a ruling from an Alabama judge who said you couldn't have the clinics IVF." And I was in my plane, and she said, "It's terrible, it's terrible." Friends of mine are virtually attacking me, and said, because they're not really, people don't talk about it necessarily. Why should they? But Katie called me up. She did such a great job. And she said, "Sir, you have to get on this right away. It's terrible. They're going to close up all the clinics." They ordered all the clinics closed. And I said, "So, Katie, give me a quick definition, please. Educate me in a minute or less." And she did. And I came out totally in favor of what all of these women wanted. And it became our issue. We actually took it away, Mike, from the Democrats. They were late to the party, and it was really, I give you a lot of credit, so thank you very much. Thank you, Katie. Great job. And I also signed an executive order to begin abolishing the Department of Education, as we said, but also to go back and do things with our school children that just hasn't been done in many, many years. But the basic is reading, writing, and arithmetic, and we want to make sure that they teach English, okay? But I think we're not going to have a problem, and you're going to see things happen, I think, on the education front like nobody can believe. It's very exciting. Very exciting. And so many of the states like Iowa and Idaho and Indiana, by the way, unrelated, but Indiana, they just signed Honda, one of the biggest auto plants in the world, is going. Honda, big company, would have never come here except for, let's say, the election. I like to say the election result, but let's give tariffs a little. Well, without the election result, you wouldn't have the tariffs, right? So I guess it's all about the election, Marjorie. But one of the biggest anywhere in the world. They're building in Indiana, big plant, and we have many of them going up. Many plants in other countries have stopped. They've stopped construction. One of them, right in the middle of construction, they just signed a contract. They're going to build it here instead. So you're going to see that at record. Just remember, I told you so in 12 months from now. But on day one, we're ending the inflation nightmare that Joe Biden created and caused, but just by his spending. Two things: his spending, but I think more important, he destroyed our energy policy, and energy started going up. Gasoline, any form of energy went through the roof. And then what he did to get it down a little bit, he went back to the Trump policy. Everything, let him drill, let him. They were very, very concerned, and it was too late, because that jackrabbit had gotten out of the nest, and it was too late. They really screwed us up in so many ways. How about allowing millions and millions of people to come into our country, open borders, people from all over the world, not South America, but all over the world. They came in from Africa, from Asia, from all over the world, from prisons. The prisons were emptied into our country. I call them prisons and jails, prison being a slightly tougher term, but the prisons and jails were emptied into our country. The mental institutions and insane asylum, same thing. Insane asylum is mental institution on steroids, right? I used to say Dr. Hannibal Lecter, the great Dr. Hannibal Lecter is in a hotel room near you. And the fake news back there, a lot of fake news here, by the way. Fake news would say, why does he keep mentioning Hannibal Lecter? I said, you know why? Because we just won an election. We got a lot of votes because of Hannibal Lecter. We don't want to have Hannibal Lecter in our country. So we watched what was happening to destroy our country. And a woman, by the way, the head of Homeland, Christie is doing a great job. Kristi Noem. She's doing a great job. She's getting them out. And Tom Homan and Kristi Noem, they're doing an unbelievable job. She's tough. She might be tougher than Tom. Is that pretty tough, right? I'd say Tom is central casting, but he says, I think she might be tougher than me. So we needed that because she's dealing with a rough group of people. Millions and millions of people. 21 million people came in, but of that, at least 3 million are serious, serious criminals. Many of them are murderers, 11,088. And of that number, about half have murdered more than one person. This is not going to end well. So we're getting them out in record numbers, and we're having a lot of problems with the courts because the courts want to pretend they're president. And they're not president. They didn't get 80 million votes, and they're not. They can't do that to this country. That's not their job, but we're getting them out in record numbers, and it's going to save a lot of lives. We got some really bad people in this country, but you see the ones we're taking out. Trendy Aragua, the toughest of all gangs, MS-13. And we're getting them out. So in just 2 months, core inflation has dropped to its lowest pace in 4 years. We've got it going down. The groceries I told you about, and energy of all kinds, gasoline. It's fallen below now $3. $3 for the first time in years since I was there. It's fallen below $3. We're going to get it down quite a bit lower. That's going to bring prices still further down, and people are going to be able to buy their groceries again, and so important. And again, I want to just congratulate you, Brooke. What a job you've done over there with the eggs. I was in office for 1 week, and I got this one article was so bad that Donald Trump has caused a massive egg problem. And I said, this is, and they showed it, it's like, terrible. But it was during his term that it went up, right? And, but they were hammering me. They thought they had us until I put you in that position. And I don't know what the hell magic wand you use. And now they don't talk about it anymore. It's terrible. Well, we'll talk. We have to talk about it, If they don't talk about it, we talk about it, right, Brooke? But what a job you've done. Now we need Congress to pass the largest tax cuts in American history, and Mike is going to get that. And I think we can finally say one big, beautiful bill, because everybody's there. I spoke with John Thune, who's doing a terrific job also, and the senators, and we want one big, beautiful bill. Just put it all in that bill, and we'll figure a way to have it passed, right? We'll figure a way. But it'll be the largest tax cuts in American history. When you add that onto the fact that if they don't pass this, you will have the largest tax increase by far, because the tax increase that I passed 5 years ago, the biggest in history, bigger than the Reagan tax cuts, what happens is that jumps back to where they used to be. So if you add that onto the other normal tax increases that the Democrats want to give, this would be the largest tax increase in history by 58% or more, I guess, but 58%. And I don't know how anybody can vote for a Democrat, but I know one thing, that I believe the Democrats are going to be forced to help vote for this bill. And then we have the very important continuation of debt. I don't call it a debt increase because we're not looking to increase. We want to just continue that line, and we should call it, I think, from now on, Mike, we're going to call it the continuation because that's what it is. That was thrown into our lap unnecessarily, but we have it, and it's fine that we have it. But I think we're going to get tremendous support even from Democrats because otherwise they're voting for the biggest tax increase in history by far, by, I think, 38 points. And I don't think they're going to want to do that. So, Mike, I hear you're doing great on it. And we're going to have tremendous goodies in the bag for women, too. The women, between the fertilization and all of the other things that we're talking about, it's going to be great. We're joined today. Fertilization. I'm still very proud of it. I don't care. I'll be known as the fertilization president, and that's okay. That's not bad. That's not bad. I've been called much worse. Actually, I like it, right? I like it. Thank you. We're joined today by many of the women members of the House and Senate who make up so much and make this all happen. And I especially want to recognize the leaders of the brand new Republican Women's Caucus. Senator Katie Britt, again, Katie, thank you. Thank you, Katie. Great job you do. And Representative Kat Kamek, who just announced a new baby girl. That's good. I also want to say driving force behind the effort to create a women's history museum, with working very much with some of the women in this room. I'm not sure if it's been discussed specifically, but to create a women's museum on the National Mall. And we have a great site. I'm very good at real estate, you know. We have a great site. And Nicole Meliotakis is here someplace. Where's Nicole? And she is really working hard on this one. This is a passion for you, and you're working. It's a big, beautiful. She said it's going to be a big, beautiful museum. Well, it has to be. If it's for women, it better be big and beautiful, or we're in trouble, right? But we're working on that. Also here, I just have this list, and they're incredible people, so I have to do it. Otherwise, I'll be run out of town. I don't have the courage not to do it. Senator Marsha Blackburn. Marsha, thank you very much. So incredible. Unbelievable talent. Senator Joni Ernst. Joni Ernst. Where's Joni? Hi, Joni. I owe you a call. I'll call you. Okay? Deb Fisher just won a great race, Nebraska. Thank you, Deb. Great race, Deb. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith. Oh, we love Cindy Hyde. Thank you, Cindy Hyde. She said, sir, could you do a rally for me? I said, yeah, I'll do a rally for you. I get this. Sir, could you do 2 more for me? I did. We did 3, and we blew him out, right? It was an Obama sycophant. We blew him out of the water, right, Cindy Hyde? So thank you. And Senator Ashley Moody, congratulations. Where is Ashley? Congratulations, Ashley. Also, Representative, and this one is tough. She's tough. Lisa McClain. She's tough and good. She's a good one. She's a real leader. Thank you. Great job, Lisa. Representative Stephanie Bice. Thank you very much. Thank you. Where's Stephanie? Thank you very much. Sherry Biggs. Hi, Sherry. Good. Lauren Boebert. Great people. Monica De La Cruz. Monica De La Cruz. Hi, Monica. Good job. Julie Fedorchak. Hi, Julie. Great. Nice to see you. A person that is more experienced than anybody, and she's still a young woman, very young, Virginia Fox. Virginia. What a good woman, right, Mike? A quiet woman, but underneath that quiet facade, she's a tiger. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Highly respected woman, I tell you. Thanks, Marjorie. Great woman. Diana Harshbarger. Where are you, Diana? Thank you. Good job with your son, too. Thank you. Ashley Hinton. Ashley. Thank you. Thanks, Ashley. Good job. Erin Houchin. Thank you, Erin. Thank you very much. Laurel Lee. Laurel, thank you. Good job. Julia Letlow. Good. Nice seeing you, Julia. She's done a great job. Anna Paulina Luna. Anna, good. Nice to see you. Another quiet one, Nancy Mace. Hi, Nancy. Great job. And Nicole, I said hello to you and your museum, and you get that going, and we're going to back it 100%, unless the women here would rather not have a... Is anybody not in favor of a women's museum in this room, please? It's okay. I could see some, maybe they want to save a couple of bucks, right? No takers. Okay, you're all set. You have it then, I guess. I sort of thought that was going to happen. Celeste Malloy. Celeste, thank you. Great job. Great job. Carol Miller, great election. Thank you, Carol. Great job, Carol. A friend of mine, a beautiful person, a beautiful family. It's like she's got children. They're all supermodels, male and female. Handsome husband. Carol, Mary Miller. Mary. How's it going? Okay, good. Mary Miller's a really spectacular person and a great congresswoman. Thank you very much. 22nd grandchild. Look at her. It's one of the most beautiful families. It really is, starting with you. It's just a beautiful family. So you have a long way to go, Kat. Come on, you have to get going. Marionette Miller Meeks, great election you had. Great election. Great job. Oh, Maria Salazar. Where is Maria? She is strong. She's a tough one, but they love her. We all love her. Thank you. Another one who's really good. I got to know her very well, along with Mike. We were having some talks, and she really knows what she's talking about. She was right 100%. Victoria Spartz. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you very much. And Beth Van Dyne, who's fabulous. Hi, Beth. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's such a great group of people. And there's others in there. I'm going to get killed. I know. You're for me and I'm for you. That's true. Can you imagine there are others? I'm sitting and looking at others. I'm going to be in trouble. That's the problem. When you do that, you leave a couple of them out. They never speak to you again. They never speak. Now we need Congress to pass the largest tax cuts, and we are going to get that done. And we're joined today by so many people that are just so great. And we are going to have a little bit of a celebration after this is finished in one of the outer rooms. They have some stuff for the women. Much better. We did this for men. And, you know, it's very unexciting having a day for men. I stood up here. It was like I reduced the speech from 10 pages to about 2 paragraphs. It was boring. It was boring as hell to tell you. Throughout our history, strong, tough, visionary women have defended our flag, strengthened our communities, explored new frontiers, and expanded the American dream for all of our children and all of our people. Now, patriotic American women like those in this room are helping lead our nation into the golden age of America. And that's what we're calling it. This is the golden age of America. We want to do things that nobody thought were possible. You know, had I done it the more traditional way, which I actually did, but we won't talk about that. But had it been the, 4 + 4 as opposed to floor 4, let's see how bad they do, and then we get another 4 at numbers too big to rig, we call it. We have to go out too big to rig. They tried, but it was too big to rig. Had we done it that way, it wouldn't have been nearly as important or nearly as historic. It's much more historic. It's a much more important presidency. And frankly, because of how bad they were, we're able to do things that we could have never done if it were traditional. I don't think, Marjorie, we would have ever been able to have done the things we are doing now. You see what we're doing with the colleges, and they're all bending and saying, sir, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And nobody can believe it, including law firms that have been so horrible, law firms that nobody would believe, and they're just saying, where do I sign? Where do I sign? Nobody can believe it. And they're coming. But we really are in the golden age of America, and I think you're going to see it more and more as we go along. Together, we're beginning our country's greatest era. and we're building a future that will be stronger, safer, healthier, and happier than ever before. And you're really going to be the leaders. I think you're going to be the dominant leaders, and you have a lot of them in this room politically, but just the fact that you're here and the fact that you're with us is so important. There's nothing like strong, beautiful, wonderful women. You have the heart, you have the whole spirit, amazing people, and it's an honor to be with you, and we're going to work together, and we're going to make this the greatest age in the history of our country. Thank you. Thank you, Mary. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay. All right, folks. So that was the president, obviously, in the East Room. And this is how they set it up. I get these rundowns from the White House directly. President Trump entered the East Room at 3:34 p.m. for Women's History Month celebration. So that was the reason for it. And you heard Trump go through all the women in his cabinet, all the women who supported him so aggressively in the election. Congresswoman, et cetera, and now Brooke Rollins and Linda McMahon and Pam Bondi and Kristi Noem. He thanked all of them. So it was a really interesting standing room only, standing closest to the president, small tables in the back. The room was filled with women, many of whom have wine and champagne. The music played before included orchestral arrangements of Dancing Queen and Girls Just Want to Have Fun. So yeah, he's having some fun. He really seemed to enjoy that quite a bit. Okay, so let's bring in John Solomon. Really good to have our good friend, John Solomon. John, I want to talk about the Signal chat that is just occupying everyone's mind and emotions and politics over the last, I would say, 72 hours. John, we have a couple of sound bites we'll get to in a second. I just like your overview of what you think really happened and how is this being played by both sides?
So I think, first up, the president had the right messaging. Wasn't a great idea. We made a mistake. We'll fix it. Let's move on. I think that's the best messaging to have. Now, since then, the White House and some of the appointees have gotten into these long, drawn-out debates. And I think the more they draw it out, the worse it gets for them because, you know, you can dicker over a word or is that classified, is that not classified. I think the president made it easy to go away. We made a mistake. We're going to fix it. Let's move on. We're doing other great things. Democrats have one interest. If they're talking about this, they don't have to talk about the fact that Donald Trump secured the first peace deal between Ukraine and Russia during the last 3 years of war. That would have been the headline everywhere if the Signal story wasn't allowed to take it over. I think the White House's interest is to get this back to what the president is getting done every day. He just committed in front of us on air here that he's going to build a women's museum on the Mall. That's historic. He's got big plans in the next couple of days for more executive orders. That's the big news. How do they do that? How do they get this story off the headlines? I think there's two things. One of them up on Just the News right now. I think people should pay attention to this. In December, the Cybersecurity Agency for America, the Homeland Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA as it's known, wrote a memo to all federal employees advising them to start using Signal for chat. I think the president should lean into that. The White House can lean into that. Mm-hmm. Our cybersecurity experts told us to use this platform. And then here's the second thing. We're in the process of doing this. I'm sure we'll get an answer. Hopefully the White House will get an answer too. We know that Joe Biden ordered this in the past. Let's find out from the National Archives how many times a Biden administration official used Signal for government business in the last administration, and that information included classified information. Because once you can prove the Biden administration did it, which I'm sure they did based on what's been said in these hearings, this goes away. The quicker the Trump administration gets this off the table, the quicker they can go back to talking about accomplishments and the fewer things Democrats will have to say about it. I think that's the strategy for the next 24 hours, recalibrating on both sides. We'll see if they pull it off.
Yeah, and again, John, sometimes if there's a perceived cover-up, it's worse than the actual crime itself. And look,
exactly.
I'm trying to figure out why they didn't just come out and say, we made a mistake. We included a JG that we thought was someone else, someone within the administration. It wasn't. We made a mistake. It won't happen again. Let's move on. But there are some of them out there going, it's not classified. Listen, here's the litmus test. If Biden had done it, would we call it classified or not? I'm guessing
right.
we might have. But let me jump to A52, and this will be Cash today, explaining what he believes should go on or what went on.
Now that another day has passed, do you believe that it's now time potentially for the FBI to open an investigation into this?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Because you're the director of the FBI, you don't believe it's appropriate to comment on that?
Because there's a process in place, there's an ongoing litigation, and the National Security Council is reviewing this matter. And I'm not going to discuss any open or closed investigations.
That ongoing investigation, literally, the lawsuit happened today or yesterday afternoon, and the idea that you don't have an opinion on this at this point is frustrating to me.
No, it's not. I'm not going to prejudge any matters, and the men and women of the FBI will call the balls and strikes.
Reclaiming my time,
not
sir.
you.
I love that line, John. The FBI will call balls and strikes, not you. Yeah. And it was embarrassing, some of these Democrats over the yesterday in the Senate panel and this one today, asking things like, was Pete Hegseth drunk when he was on the chat? That is the most asinine question I've heard in a very long time. Your thoughts?
Listen, the Democrats have nothing to really listen. They're ridiculing a guy in a wheelchair who's a hero to so many Americans who are disabled. He rises to be the governor of one of the largest states in America, and the best they can do is ridicule him. This is a party that is obsessed with anger, with hatred, with tearing down America and its officials, because it doesn't have a platform it can offer the American people. So all it can offer them is vitriol and one-liners and anger. That's wearing on the American people. That's why the Democratic Party's at 27% approval rate and probably going to go down from here. And all of this behavior that you just said, people absorb it. They dismiss it as politics, but they also say, I don't like this type of politics. I think it strengthens the hands, if Republicans can stay disciplined, to defy history and have a good midterm elections in 2026. Stay focused on the job. You heard the president say, we're going to stay just focused on what we promised the American people. We're going to keep getting through that checklist. Let's save money. Let's get the tax cuts done. Let's get the price of eggs done. And I think that is what Americans are going to judge the next 2 years of history by, not by how insipid and smart alecky you can be in a congressional hearing, which is what we've seen a lot of in the last few days.
Yeah, and again, that's the Trump has got racking up so many wins. He needs to get the narrative, get the news cycle back on his wins and off of this. And that's why I think it should have just been, look, stuff happens. We made a mistake. We're fixing it. It won't happen. Good news is nothing bad happened. We're going to fix it. Doesn't happen again. Tulsi Gabbard, again, yesterday saying there was no classified, explaining it again. Guys, that will be A61 soundbite.
And it was my commitment to the president, to the Senate, the American people, that as the director of national intelligence, I will ensure to provide the president and all of you as policymakers with that unbiased, relevant, and timely intelligence. And to your specific question, the answer is yes. I will inform the president of that accurate, timely, unbiased intelligence reporting, whether it is something that agrees with an assumption or a view or an objective or not. That's my responsibility to him and to the American people.
Again, she's doing her darndest to get put this to rest. Put it down. Let's go. Yeah. Let's move on. They want a scalp. Democrats want a head to roll.
They got nothing else, so they got to try to get a scalp because they don't have anything else to put into the marketplace right now. And I think that the Trump administration will outlast them. Here's what I will say on the issue of classified information. When you look at what's now been published by The Atlantic, there's a lot of focus on the media timeline. Like, they're getting prepared. They already know the attack's going to occur, and they're moving towards a media timeline. When are we going to announce this? When will the president put his truth out, right? Meaning his Truth Social post. That may mean, from a very technical sense, and again, I don't think this rests on technicalities. I think your way of addressing it is the right way. We made a mistake, move on. But technically, it is very possible that the battle plans had been shared with the press teams at the Pentagon to prepare them for an official announcement when it happened. And when that happens, typically the defense secretary has invoked his declassification powers to send it to people in the press office who don't have security clearances. So there may be a technicality here that they can also hang their hats on. I personally think the way you and the way the president first addressed this was the easiest way, and some of the cabinet and sub-cabinet officials are getting into a lot of details that they just don't need to get into.
Exactly. Hey, you saw it. It's all there. The mission came off clean. We accomplished all our goals. Yes, did it leak? It was a mistake. We will clean that up. Here's how you do it, though. And she's 26 years old, and she is just, I'll say it, I'll probably get in trouble. She's a badass. Caroline Levitt, guys, it's 8:13.
I have two questions. One on a follow-up on something you just said. But since we have these messages released, and you said that the president has now personally reviewed them, at the chat at one point, Pete Hegseth wrote 14-15 strike drones on target, and in all caps, he said, "This is when the first bombs will definitely drop." Does the president feel that he was misled by his national security advisors, whoever it was that told him there was no classified information in there, now that he's seen these messages?
I've now been asked and answered this question 3 times by the both of you, and I've given you my answer. The president feels the same today as he did yesterday.
Okay, Philip. And on my follow-up on what you had just said.
Go ahead, Philip.
Caitlin,
I'm not taking your follow-up.
I have a follow-up on something you just said, though, Caroline. That's
Caitlin,
regarding
I'm not
Jeffrey
taking
Goldsberg.
your follow-up. Philip, go ahead. I've called
Thank you. The vice president seemed to express some frustration that Europe wasn't doing more.
John, you and I have been doing this a long time. I mean, Jim Acosta made a name for himself because he was up there. He's a fighter. He got smacked down. Trump smacked. He got back up. But Caitlin Collins got smoked in the cabinet room yesterday when she tried to cut President Trump off, and he put her in her place, and Caroline Levitt just completely went like this. Look, I'm not listening to you. And she's a star. How do we get these people? They just want so badly to be to get a scalp.
Yeah, listen, they're just going to end up giving their own scalp in because they're ruining their own reputations acting this way. You know, Caroline's a lot younger than the very first press secretary that I got to see in action when I came to Washington in 1991. But Marlin Fitzwater was just as good as George H.W. Bush's press secretary at putting the media in their place. And I will tell you, she may be young, but her ability to command the stage, to control that room, not let it get overrun, is really impressive. And I think, you know what she's doing? She's serving the American interest, not even serving President Trump's interest. A press secretary that stays on what's important for the American people and cuts off things that are just the gotcha silliness of the old media. They're doing the public a favor because they're allowing the American people to hear answers about what matters to them: inflation, war, peace, the border. And she keeps that message front and center. I think it's an extraordinary public service she's doing. She's extraordinarily skilled, and more you're going to see more reporters get schooled. She comes prepared. She already knows the gotcha questions before they come, and she's putting a lot of those reporters into place.
And if you remember Corinne Jean-Pierre, when she first started, she had nowhere to go. Everything was out of that book. There was a huge book, and she had every topic that she could possibly be asked, and she'd have to find the right tab, open it up, and start reading a prepared answer for everything. Caroline's just like off the top of her head, like boom, boom, take this one. She's so running, gunning, and it's really impressive. John, I know you got to get going. You got to prep for your show. You got a big interview. Appreciate your time. John Solomon, folks. Thank you so much.
It's great to be on the show. Congrats.
All right, folks. We will be back in 2.5. I think we have a special guest, but I want to tease it before I know for sure. Maybe not. Well, you'll find out when you come back. 2.5. Charlottesville, Virginia. Never been there. Yeah, but yeah, heard it's beautiful. All right, folks, while we may have won this election, the fight to restore our great country and nation is only beginning. Now is the time to take a stand, and Patriot Mobile is leading the charge as America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. Patriot Mobile offers a way to vote with your wallet without compromising on quality or convenience. Patriot Mobile isn't just about providing exceptional cell phone service. It's a call to action to defend our rights and our freedoms. With Patriot Mobile, you'll get outstanding nationwide coverage because they operate on all three major cable networks. If you have cell phone service today, you can get cell phone service with Patriot Mobile with a coverage guarantee. But the difference is every dollar you spend supports the First and, get this, and the Second Amendment, the sanctity of life, and our veterans and first responders. Switching is easy. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Their 100% US-based customer support team will help you find the perfect plan. Right now, go to patriotmobile.com/RAV or call 972-PATRIOT and get a free month of service with promo code RAV. Switch to Patriot Mobile today and defend freedom with every call and text you make. Visit patriotmobile.com/RAV or call 972-PATRIOT. Okay, let's do this. Let's go right to, I believe, right outside the White House. Do we have our roving reporter, the one, the only, the wonderful Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene standing by? There she is. Look at that. What a gorgeous shot there. Right
Hi,
there.
Eric.
Good to see you. And I heard you get called out by the president as being a superstar. It was quite a nice event for recognition of Women's History Month. Marjorie, tell us about it.
It was incredible. President Trump is the president for women, and the Republican Party is the president for women. It was such an honor to be there as we launched the very first Republican Women's Caucus, which has been led by Kat Kammack, a great colleague of mine, who, by the way, announced that she is expecting. She announced that on stage to all of us. None of us knew that she was pregnant, but we are delighted to share in her great news. President Trump was so much fun, as always, joking with us and talking about all the issues that we campaigned on and now are being delivered with his great administration.
Yeah, and he was having fun, as you pointed out. He really enjoyed it, pointed out that there's no Dudes History Month, or if there was, he cut it down to like 5 minutes. But he was really enjoying the crowd, and they love him, don't they?
Oh, they love him. You know, he's been attacked for so many years. They said that women didn't like him, and that's absolutely not true. Women love President Trump, and he's done more for women than any other president in history. He's defending men and women's sports by signing his executive order. He's doing something that I'm personally passionate about, and I have a bill that will soon pass the House floor, and that's criminalizing sex changes on children. That should never happen, and it's just unimaginable. And he's defending gender, that there's only two genders, male and female. And so we're also thankful to President Trump, but they're also doing a lot more that help not only women, but all of us, Eric, lowering inflation, lowering gas prices. Gas in my district when I went home last week was $2.73, and lowering the price of eggs, whether the media likes it or not. That was all on Joe Biden's watch. So it was a lot of fun today here at the White House.
You know, it was a really nice moment that we didn't have to hear left-wing nut jobs complaining about the signal chat that they've been just occupying the airwaves. I mean, I saw some lunatic congressman today ask, I believe it was Tulsi Gabbard or someone, if Pete Hegseth was drunk on the chat. I mean, how low can they stoop, Congresswoman?
They're repulsive. They're shameful. You know, I dealt with a few of those questions myself after the NPR PBS hearing I had today on my DOJ subcommittee on oversight. You know what was really funny, Eric? You're going to love this. The press on the Capitol outside my hearing room, they were great. They were asking me questions specifically about the defunding of NPR and PBS, which I'm absolutely moving forward with, and taking down corporate public broadcasting, which is something that every Republican president since LBJ has said they were going to do and never got it done. And we're going to make sure that President Trump is able to sign that. But here was what was so interesting. It was a British reporter that came up to me and was actually attacking President Trump and his administration about the Signal chat. And I found it so ironic because this woman, this British woman, if she was back home in her country, she would be censored and she couldn't put her opinions on social media because they don't respect free speech. But I asked her back, I said, you know, why don't you care about the women that are being raped in your country by the migrants that have come across your country's open borders, instead of you're attacking our president and this administration that's doing every single thing right and actually delivering the mandate that the American people voted for in November. And she didn't have anything really to come back on that, but to continue to launch into the lies so that they can put it in the headlines, because that's the only playbook they have.
I saw you smack her down. You shut her right down. Her tail got planted firmly between her legs, and she kind of backed off. That was great. Can we talk a little bit about the NPR and various other programming that the American people support with hard-earned tax dollars? And it should be noted that this programming leans hard left. Obviously, the editorial leans hard left. And I believe it was J.D. Vance or someone today who said that there were something like 63 directors in NPR, and they all report to the Democrat Party. None of them were conservative. Is that right? Is it that much of a skew behind the scenes as well?
Correction.
Go ahead.
It's worse than that. It's not 63, it's 87. 87 are registered Democrat voters. There's not one registered Republican voter on the board for NPR. That shows you the bias that they have. You know, Media Research Center has done a lot of reporting. 90% of their reporting has a left-leaning bias and doesn't represent so-called rural America that they claim that they are talking to. You know what's even more disgusting, Eric, is the trans agenda that has been pushed on children through PBS. Ms. Kerger appeared before me today, and on her watch, she's been there for 19 years. 19 years, Eric. This went from the PBS that we watched as children, you and I both, and that I know you and I raised our children watching, to now with drag queen story time, with a drag queen talking about his hips going swish, 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 and his shoulders going shimmy, 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 and then talking about all kinds of stories, pushing this trans agenda on children ages 3 to 8 years old. We both know that this was one of the #1 issues in the election. American parents, it's not even divided by politics. It's not divided on those boundaries between Republican and Democrats. American parents are fed up with the trans agenda coming after their kids and lying to their children about there being they're trying to say there's not two genders when we both know there's only two. This has not been an argument throughout time, only until here recently, and it's disgusting. And that's why Americans shouldn't have to pay a tax, a regressive tax, to fund NPR and PBS. They can hate us on their own dime, Eric, and that's what I let them know today. We are going to defund and dismantle NPR and PBS.
That is a great, great, great idea. And let's not forget the former Attorney General under Joe Biden, Merrick Garland, called parents who are pushing back against books that displayed this stuff are domestic terrorists. It blows me away. Congresswoman, hey, let's see how good our control room is. Asset is E1 from the E block. Mad Dog, if you pull that up, and the reason why I'm saying it is because our friend Jazzy Jazz Crockett has a few words about the funding or defunding of NPR. Dog, you got that yet? It's E1 from the block. Let's play it.
Free speech is not about whatever it is that y'all want somebody to say. And the idea that you want to shut down everybody that is not Fox News is bull. We need to stop playing, because that's what y'all are doing in here. You don't want to hear the opinions of anybody else. And the Constitution says Congress shall make no law respecting or establishing of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the
gentlewoman's time has expired.
Press.
The gentlewoman's time has expired.
Madam Chairwoman, can I move to the record?
I just don't know how you do it, Congresswoman. I don't know how you sit in those meetings with that lunatic, but I digress. I was trying to figure out, does she want NPR to be defunded, or does she want the make it rain to continue by the American taxpayer for that garbage?
Nobody knows what she's talking about, but I think that she is the face of the Democrat Party. I love for Jasmine Crockett to keep saying whatever she's saying, because it just makes the whole entire Democrat Party look pathetic. So I hope they keep promoting her, and I hope she keeps talking. You know what is interesting, though, Eric? I'll let you know something. She's been walking around the Capitol with a Capitol Police escort. Yeah, this is the same woman cheering on domestic terrorism against Elon Musk, Tesla workers, Tesla dealerships, and Tesla drivers. These are private citizens, by the way. But I got to let you know, Jasmine Crockett's got her little Capitol Police escort while she's walking around. Why? Because an independent journalist put an iPhone up and asked her to denounce domestic terrorism, and then she assaulted him, and that's on camera. But she's the one that needs the Capitol Police escort. I just want to be real clear on this. I've never had a Capitol Police escort. I've had some of the most death threats in Congress. 2 men have been convicted for pleading guilty to planning to murder me. One of them is in prison right now. I live with this non-stop. But Jasmine Crockett has her little Capitol Police escort while she's going to be encouraging the Tesla takedown coming on March 29th.
We want you to be safe, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. We want you to be safe.
Oh, I'm safe. Believe me, I'm a gun owner. And I can defend myself.
I know you can. That jazzy Jasmine Crockett is still out there talking about March 29th being the day of rage against Tesla. And I believe that if there's any injuries, any people hurt or killed, God forbid, that's blood on her hands. And I did see her. I saw her almost. I saw her almost knock over Congressman Tim Burchett to grab that phone out of, or to smack the phone out of one of Laura Loomer's photogs. And yeah, that is assault. I mean, she's horrible. Congressman, we're going to let you go. We appreciate final thought, and we appreciate you at the sticks over there giving us a quick rundown with the mic. It looks fantastic, by the way. Final thought.
Thank you. Oh, listen, we're up here getting the job done that the American people voted for, and we don't care how much they complain. We don't care how much the media lies about us. We're actually going to keep on fighting for this country. It's great to be with you, Eric.
Good to be with you, too, and happy Women's Month celebration today. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Congresswoman, thank you very much. All right, folks, we will be back in 2.5 minutes. Panama City, Florida. So much fun, guys. Right around there, Floribama. I mean, it's just so cool. That's just a great place. Great spring break place, too, by the way. All right, folks, April 15th. What's up, Sky Cam? April 15th, just 3 weeks away. If you have issues with the IRS, you should call Tax Network USA. Spokesperson Cameron Kinsey joins us to discuss. Cameron, good to have you back. Good to see you again. Saw you in beautiful West Palm Beach a couple of days ago. So what sets Tax Network USA apart from other tax service providers? Why is it so much better?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me, and it's good to see you again. So Tax Network USA, we're not just a faceless call center. We are advocates for your financial freedom. We're all on the same side. We want to shield you from government overreach that we've seen for the past 4 years under the Biden-Harris administration. We have CPAs, we have enrolled attorneys, we have tax experts that are really just in your corner, basically acting like a liaison between you and the IRS. So you're not waiting on hold for hours on end, so you can tend to your friends, your family, your loved ones without the burden of the IRS on your shoulders.
Cameron, how does Tax Network USA help clients, with tax resolution and IRS issues? So you got a problem. Is it an old problem, a new problem? Does it matter? How do you get involved?
Yeah, I mean, when you see I'm sure you've heard with the scary letter showing up in the mail, people often ignore those letters. People often ignore filing their taxes. And that's when we step in and we really want to advocate for you to get ahead of it, especially in this tax season right now. We help with wage garnishments, bank levies, liens. There's really no case that we haven't seen. We've worked with small business owners, W-2 employees, retirees. And so basically, we're just looking for the best financial outcome for you, making sure that the government isn't taking more than what you actually owe.
So how do you get started? You have an issue, maybe you have a letter, or maybe you ignored a bunch of letters, starting to get nervous. What's the process?
Yeah, it's super seamless, actually, and it's free. You can call our toll-free number at 1-800-905-8000, or you can go to our website, tnusa.com/RAV, and fill out a quick form just so we know your case, your situation, what's going on, and a team member will reach out to you directly. It's a free consultation, super seamless process.
And very quickly, so one of your agents gets involved with the IRS agent, and they negotiate some sort of settlement. Is that how it works, and how successful have you been?
Yes, I mean, we've saved clients over $1 billion worth of back taxes. We've been around for quite a long time. We've developed relationships with people over at the IRS as well. And so we are familiar with basically every single case in the book. I won't lie. And so basically for our clients, when they come to us, it just depends on the complexity of the case. It can take a couple weeks to a couple months, but we'll be in your corner every single step of the way, making sure that we're advocating for your financial freedom.
Well, it's really good. It's really good. And I love that line on one of those reads that I do, where don't do this on your own, because you guys know which agents to go to and which not to. Quick thought on that very quickly, because I'm thankful for that.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we don't want you waiting on hold for hours. We know how much of a burden this can be, to your family, to your loved ones, to your everyday routine. And we've seen how people can just get really stressed out during this process. And that's why, that's really where we step in, making sure that obviously you're being protected financially, but also your mental clarity is being protected as well. You're not waiting for hours on hold all the time. I know we've all been there, or you get a scary letter in the mail, you want to ignore it. That's really where we step in. And basically, when we take over your case, you will not have to talk to the IRS directly. So we do all of that for you.
That is it. That's worth its weight in gold, so to speak. We get that thing off your head, the IRS. Cameron, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Eric. Good to see you.
You too. All right, folks. Democrats, well, they've slipped to their all-time low. And no, I'm not talking just about their favorability ratings. That's already hit an all-time low of 29%. And now it's even lower than that at 26%. But their newest low of the lows is letting the likes of Jasmine Crockett, absolute trash, become the face of their party. There's no one more out of tune with Americans these days than a Democrat. But Jasmine, Maxine, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, they're the loudest voices and the ones doing the most damage. They got the receipts very quickly. Listen to Jasmine Crockett.
politicians. So I'll make sure that I keep it short, but I am truly here for very selfish reasons. Starting with on March 29th, it's my birthday. And all I want to see happen on my birthday is for Elon to be taken down. Yes. Listen, I have learned as I serve on the DOJ Oversight Committee that there is only one language that the people that are in charge understand right now. And that language is money. And so I've been so proud to see us organize behind a cause.
Jasmine Crockett is a damage to the Democrat Party. Again, look who we're dealing with. These Democrats are all the same. Listen, we're going to skip the next one. We're going to, Mad Dog, we're going to AOC D31. Take a listen.
This dude is probably one of the most unintelligent billionaires I have ever met.
AOC saying Elon Musk is one of the dumbest people she's ever met. Is she out of her mind? He's worth $400 billion. He's done Starlink, where he's revolutionized rockets. He revolutionized cars, automobiles, to the love of the left when they used to love electric cars. Remember, they used to love Elon Musk for that. He's done the Neuralink, putting chips in people's brains to help them see or be able to walk again. He's dumb. AOC, he's dumb. Don't look in the mirror, my dear. All right, let's move on to another lunatic Democrat. Ilhan Omar, this will be D51, another one.
It is hard to imagine anything more un-American than that. The Trump administration's immigration policy is a threat to immigrants like criminals. America is too great to fall prey to Donald Trump's anti-immigrant agenda.
So the weird thing about Ilhan Omar telling us about our immigration policy here in the United States, when she clearly only cares about her home country, Somalia, is that she married her own brother to get him into the United States, violating every single law and rule we possibly have. You can't marry your own brother to bring him in. I don't think. Maybe you can, but you shouldn't. How about that? All right, Dog, let's do another one of the lunatic leftists. Rashida Tlaib, and this will be D71.
Hi, Congresswoman. Miles Morrell with the Daily Caller News Foundation.
Are they paying you well?
Well, that's besides the point. The question is, will you condemn?
I believe you should be.
Will you condemn the recent attacks on Tesla dealerships?
I can tell you right now that they don't give you health coverage because I'm telling you this is very dangerous on how you have to walk up against these steps.
But will you condemn the recent attacks on Tesla dealerships?
Can't even condemn the violence and blowing up Teslas and Tesla dealerships and the poor people who probably are liberal because they want to buy an electric car to save the planet. You're ruining their lives too, you lunatic Tlaib. So Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, AOC, Jasmine Crockett. I haven't even gotten to Maxine Waters because I ran out of time. Lunatic leftist ladies, by the way, all minorities. I'm not sure what's going on over there, but really got to get their act together. We're back in 2.5 with Bannon. Santa Monica has like a little amusement park. You sure that's not New Jersey, dog? Mad Dog, can you voice of God me for a second? Santa Monica, Cal. No kidding. All right. I don't remember that. All right, folks, let's bring in Mr. Stephen K. Bannon. Always good to have you on. So much stuff to talk about. We're texting this morning back and forth about the hearings, and then all of a sudden MSNBC is going absolutely bonkers, Stephen K. Bannon. But we can hit that another time. I just wanted you to weigh in because I know you and I love to do media stuff, and Jasmine Crockett is now really complaining that Marjorie Taylor Greene might get it around, but it can pull funding from the NPR leftist propaganda machine. Listen.
Free speech is not about whatever it is that y'all want somebody to say. And the idea that you want to shut down everybody that is not Fox News is bull. We need to stop playing because that's what y'all are doing in here. You don't want to hear the opinions of anybody else. And the Constitution says Congress shall make no law respecting or establishing of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the
gentlewoman's time has expired.
Press.
The gentlewoman's time has expired.
Madam Chairwoman, can I move to the record?
Steve, she butchered the Constitution, but whatever. What's she rambling about?
Well, I think it was an intense hearing. We actually cut in. We were doing, as I told you, Eric, this morning, we were covering live the entire gavel to gavel on the intelligence because it was so intense. We actually had to cut in when some of the Republicans were asking questions that were fair questions, but we wanted to get the Democrats asking the cheap shot questions of our senior intelligence official. We'd actually cut into Marjorie Taylor Greene's hearing, and we cut in as soon as we heard Crockett was going on because we know she was going to throw some bombs. I mean, look, I understand what she's doing. As you know, NPR and PBS, which Jim Jordan, Comer, MTG, and others just field stripped today, is a major propaganda channel for the radical left. I understand why she's defending it. Of course, she butchered the Constitution. But Crockett, look, the one thing I admire about Crockett, she'll throw some punches. That's what the Democrat base is going through their Tea Party moment. They want brawlers. Like we have MTG and Boebert and some others. So I empathize with what they're doing. Crockett's a brawler.
Yeah. What's your assessment of if we boil it down, just bring it right down to brass tacks. Was this information classified or not? I mean, really, it is that because no one's saying it didn't happen. No one's saying Goldberg didn't get this somehow, which is a problem. Whatever. But is it classified, Steve? Doesn't strike me as they didn't give actual coordinates. They gave a timeline a little bit, but I don't know. I would think of a true battle plan, and you would know as a military guy. Would it have been a real battle plan or just a kind of a conversation?
I think the intelligence guys, and of course Pete Hegseth, and we're going to start off today about how they're focusing on trying to take out Pete Hegseth. This is Pete Hegseth's second confirmation hearing. They understand Pete, as you know, Eric, because you know him very well. Pete has just put a warrior ethos already into the you know what kind of guy he is, and the military operation, which remember in the first Trump administration, the first kind of speed bump we hit, Madison and his guys put together a little operation with Navy SEALs in Yemen that didn't go well. Pete Hegseth has done a great job. I'd leave it to our intelligence professionals and to Pete to describe what happened. My belief right now, as a media guy on the outside with you, is no scalps. Just go on with your operations, move on, and you got business to take care of. I think the thing I find most disturbing is the Senate Armed Services Committee, which is the committee of jurisdiction for the Pentagon, is really taking the lead here on trying to do some bipartisan inspector general, investigation. I think it's totally unsat. I think Pete and the Pete team should just go ahead and do their job.
One of those lunatic Democrat asked if Pete Hegseth was drunk when he was on. I mean, there's no indication of anything like that, but the cheap shot is unbelievable. Do we have time? I want to squeeze it in, Steve. Carolyn Levitt just crushed Caitlin Collins. It's worth watching.
I have two questions. One on a follow-up on something you just said. But since we have these messages released, and you said that the president has now personally reviewed them, at the chat at one point, Pete Hegseth wrote 14-15 strike drones on target, and in all caps, he said, "This is when the first bombs will definitely drop." Does the president feel that he was misled by his national security advisors, whoever it was that told him there was no classified information in there, now that he's seen these messages?
I've now been asked and answered this question 3 times by the both of you, and I've given you my answer. The president feels the same today as he did yesterday.
Okay,
Philip.
And on my follow-up on what you had just said.
Go ahead, Philip.
Caitlin,
I'm not taking your follow-up.
I have a follow-up on something you just said, though, Caroline. That's Caitlin.
And it goes on. She just shut Caitlin Collins down. Caitlin's having a rough couple 72 hours.
Dissed and dismissed. I got a question, Bowling. You know our guy Pete Hegseth better than anybody. Is Pete going to back up 1 inch from these guys?
No. Pete is a great guy. Pete is doing a great job. If you listen and watch some of the things he's doing right now, he's doing that no one's done before. He knows it. He lived it. You know, what a wonderful guy. They better not. They just better back off Pete Hegseth. They'll be very, very sorry if they do. I think he survives.
Eric, I think all of us are very proud of the fact of all the work people did to get Pete Hegseth confirmed. It's paid off many-fold already. Great man.
Yes, sir. All yours, Steve.
Eric Bowling. Thank you. And by the way, great. Mad Dog had great clips, great polls.
Always.
That Caroline Levitt was fantastic. Always. Diss and dismissed.
We'll send it to you. We'll send it to Cameron
and Collins.
All right, brother. See you soon.
Thank you, brother. See you. Okay, we got MTG at the White House. We're going to do a compression today. It's full-on attack on multiple fronts against President Trump and his team from the federal courts. And we just heard the federal court, the appellate court in Washington, D.C., refused to remove, Bosberg? Let's play the cold open. We're going to go to the White House. Marjorie Taylor Greene is with us. Let's hit it.
This morning we learned that the signal chat included the following update, forward-looking update from the Secretary of Defense. Time now, 11:44 Eastern Time. Weather is favorable. Just confirmed with CENTCOM. We are go for mission launch. 12:15 Eastern Time. F-18 launch. First strike package. 13:45. Trigger-based F-18 first strike window starts. Target terrorist is at his known location, so should be on time. Also, strike drones launch. MQ-9s. 14:10. More F-18s launch. Second strike package. Do either of the directors want to reflect on their testimony yesterday in the context of what I just read?
Sure. 1, I was not on that signal chat. 2, I have not reviewed it. And 3, as you just indicated, that was made public this morning.
But, Director, you didn't, prior to yesterday's Senate, you were on the signal chat, correct?
No.
Okay, but did you review the material on the signal chat?
No, I wasn't on it.
Director Gabbard?
Yes, Ranking Member. My answer yesterday was based on my recollection or the lack thereof on the details that were posted there. I was not, and what was shared today reflects the fact that I was not directly involved with that part of the signal chat and replied at the end reflecting the effects, the very brief effects that the National Security Advisor had shared.
Director Gabbard, you've reasserted that there was no classified information. I think we can all agree that that information shouldn't have been out there. But let me ask you this. Are you familiar with the ODNI's classification guidance?
I'm familiar with it.
I've actually got a copy right here. If I read you a part of that guidance, I wonder if you could tell me what the level of classification indicated is. I'm reading from your classification guidance. And the criteria is information providing indication or advance warning that the U.S. or its allies are preparing an attack. Do you recall what your own guidance would suggest that be classified?
I don't have the specifics in front of me, but it would point to what was shared would fall under the DoD's classification system and the Secretary of Defense's authority.
So let me help you, because there's a very clear answer.
And what is not.
I guess you don't have it, but information providing, this is the ODNI guidance, information providing indication or advance warning that the U.S. or its allies are preparing an attack should be classified as top secret.
Just piggybacking off of what some other members have said, using the DoD's manual as well as the executive order in operation today with the Trump administration, this text